And where did you reside?
215 Mountain Vista Boulevard.
Okay. Is that here in Cherokee County?
Yes.
All right. And where's that in relation to where we are now? About how far away?
5 miles.
Okay. And that residence, what can you tell me about who lived there, the size of it?
I lived there alone until 2015 when a friend of mine had another friend who needed help, and I offered them to stay, and they stayed for a couple months and then left.
Okay. Let me start with 2020, and then we'll go back a little bit more historically. Who lived in your house on December 8th of 2020?
Me.
Just you. Okay. And what was your employment at that time?
I work for a company called Sharp Spring.
Did you work from home?
Yes.
All right. And on that day, did anybody come to your residence?
Yes.
And who came to your residence?
Brian and another guy. They were picking up some stuff that they left in my basement.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about that. Who is Brian?
He's the friend of a friend who I let stay with me in 2015.
Do you know his full name?
No.
All right. Does he go by anything other than Brian?
Z.
Okay. What do you call him?
Z.
Z. All right.
Okay.
And so on December 8th of 2020,
Interesting.
Brian or Z came to your residence, you said with another guy. Do you know who that was?
Jason, I think.
Jason? Okay.
Yeah.
And was anybody else with them?
There were some girls, and there might have been another guy. I don't really remember.
Okay.
I didn't really pay attention to it.
All right. What were you doing when they came?
I was working. I was actually on a Zoom call with work.
Okay. So you weren't paying a whole lot of attention to who was with them?
Not at all.
And prior to them coming to your house, who had you communicated with about the fact that they were coming?
Just Z.
Just Z. Okay. And you mentioned that he was coming to pick up some stuff. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
But like what?
Okay. Why did he have things at your home?
They were transitioning to a new place to live when they left, and they had a lot of stuff that they couldn't bring, so I let them keep it in my basement.
Okay.
I had an unfinished basement with lots of space. It didn't affect me to be there.
All right.
It's clothes and stuff. It wasn't.
Okay. So prior to 2020, how much time had you spent with Z or Brian?
2-3 months.
Okay. And how did you meet him?
Like I said, it was a friend of mine. I saw him on a video, and that's a friend of mine had him on a video, and that's how I got involved or met him.
Okay. When was that?
I'm hitting the vape.
So in 2015.
I'm gonna pinch him
you
and see
met
if
him
anybody
on
wants to
video,
join.
And that's how you became familiar with Brian/Z?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the nature of that video?
I don't really remember, to be honest. I could
Okay.
find it if you need it, but
What do you recall? What sort of forged the connection between you and him?
it was spiritual stuff,
Okay.
consciousness related. Nothing, weird.
Okay. Spiritual and consciousness type video.
Yeah.
Was it something on like YouTube or on the
Yeah, it was
internet?
on YouTube.
Okay.
It's probably still there.
All right. So you saw that video and then you connected with
There we go.
Brian?
Oh,
The
good.
interviewer who I knew.
Okay, so he was being interviewed by somebody else?
Correct.
Okay. So you connected with him through that interviewer who you knew?
Correct.
Understood. And you believe that was in 2015?
Yes.
Okay. And so after you connected with him in 2015, how did your relationship with him develop?
Alright. Back to killing zombies.
I had invited them to come, they needed a place to stay. I offered them my house.
Okay.
Or
And
a room.
all right. And do you know when that was?
Sometime in 2015.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
You
I
said
don't
him,
blame
who
you.
are you referring to?
It's okay. There'll be plenty more for you to be involved in.
And do you know who that was?
I think it was Chloe.
Okay. And
But I didn't know her name then.
okay. So how long did he reside in your home?
I think it was around 3 months.
Okay.
I don't really know.
All right. And was that intended to be a temporary situation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how much interaction or observation did you have with them while they lived with you?
Not much.
Not much, okay. Did you ever see anything that concerned you?
Not at all.
Okay. And what happened that caused them to move out?
I was just sick of having people in my house.
Okay.
It was supposed to be temporary.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make it temporary.
All right.
Fair.
And so was it your decision to have them leave?
Yes.
Okay. And was there any issue or dispute about that?
Not at all.
Okay. So how much communication did you have with Z after he moved out of your residence in 2015?
Get some water? Okay. Could you get him some water, please?
Do you take a break or you want to keep going?
If you need to take, do you need to take a break, sir?
I just step outside and clear my throat.
Okay. Then we will be in recess in place for a few minutes, but you can step back.
Okay. Interesting, but I also get it. Back over here now. That's thinned out a bit. Oh. Didn't realize we were literally going into recess at that moment.
So I'll just start over. We were discussing them moving out of your residence, and I asked you whether there was any issues or concerns with that. And then my follow-up question is, how much contact did you have with Z after he moved out? Like, did you maintain a relationship?
Sort of like he calls me every once in a while.
Okay.
Catch up.
All right, and how would you just generally classify the nature of those conversations?
Cordial?
Okay. You indicated that you and him sort of connected under a spiritual or consciousness type video. Was that sort of consistently the theme of your relationship? Were those the types of things that you discussed?
We did at first, but not much after that.
Okay. And how would you describe Z?
It's kind of hard to describe. He's a nice guy, gentle, kind. Never raised his voice to me or anything.
Okay. Have you ever had any conflict with him?
I did, but it was over stupid stuff.
Okay.
Nothing earth-shattering.
Okay.
He left something out, or he's cooking leaks that stink up the house.
Got it.
Nothing,
Okay.
you know.
So after he moved out of your residence in 2015, is that when he left things at your house?
Yes.
Okay. And you indicated you had an unfinished basement and you just
Correct.
allowed those things to stay in your basement? How often did you see him between 2015 and 2020?
Once or twice.
Okay. And would those have been times when he came to your home?
Yeah, I think I don't remember the timelines exactly. There was a couple times he was passing through and needed a place to sleep at night, one night as he traveling from A to B. So
Okay.
I let him sleep over.
All right. And you indicated when they came to your home in December 8th of 2020 that it was Z and Jason and you said some girls. How many?
I have no idea. Like I
Okay.
said, I was on a Zoom call. I didn't really pay attention. They showed up. I opened the door and I went back to my call.
Okay. And when you say girls, are you talking about minors or women?
Women.
Women. Okay.
Sorry.
Were you aware?
Are you
there was a
talking about
child there?
minors?
Okay. And
Oof.
what you observed the child as
Spicy.
well?
I don't recall.
Okay. So when they got there, were you already working?
I get why she responded that way.
And how much interaction did you have with them when they got there?
Very little.
All right.
I told them to leave me alone and shut up. You know, I'm on a work call.
So that was
Fuck off.
expressly stated.
Yes.
I'm working. Fuck
and,
off.
Was it surprising to you that he had multiple women with him?
Surprising?
Yes. Let me ask it a better way. Did you know that he had multiple wives or that he was involved in some type of polygamous situation?
Sort of.
Okay. And
I never witnessed it
Okay.
until 2020, but
Okay. But you knew generally about it? Okay. And do you know
Oh
what time they arrived
no!
to your house?
I'd be so fucking pissed.
I believe.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry,
I
Hurts.
don't really remember.
All right.
It sounds like a fucking awful scam.
I think they had two, like a car.
But it's Verizon, so it's just they're being fucking stupid and like frustrating and difficult.
All right. And tell me, when they got there, where were you physically located in your
In
house?
my kitchen office. I had an office set up in my kitchen.
Okay. And did you have any appreciation while you were at your office set up in your kitchen
Yeah.
where everybody else went in your house?
That's pretty accurate. Yeah.
And
Definitely feels
how long
like
were they
one.
there before something significant occurred?
An hour maybe? I don't really know what
Okay.
the time scale was.
Okay.
Time.
When did you become aware that something was wrong or going on?
When I heard a lot of banging,
Okay.
I was on my call, and I started hearing a lot of screaming and banging from upstairs, and that's when I went upstairs
Okay.
to see what's going on.
Describe to me more what you mean by the sound of banging.
I heard some. I'm sorry. I heard a bunch of screaming from Brian, and
What was he
the-
screaming?
Open the door.
Okay.
I think. I honestly don't remember. So
Okay.
I can't say it was open. I don't know what he was screaming. He was going to open the door and banging on the door.
Okay.
And then I heard the crash of the door being kicked in,
Okay.
and that's when I went upstairs.
Okay. And what happened after you heard the crash of the door being kicked in?
So this is the part I don't really remember too clearly. I have read my police report, so I can state what I said there.
Okay. Well, if that refreshes your memory, that's okay. But if you don't have an
It
independent
actually
memory,
does not refresh my memory,
Okay.
but what I wrote in the police, what I said in the police report, which I don't actually recall now, which could be because of the trauma, but I went upstairs, I saw blood, and I went back downstairs
Okay.
to call 911, and someone else was already calling them, so I didn't.
All right. After you said you heard him say things about open the door and you heard the door being busted down, did you hear him scream or say anything after the door was open?
I heard, wailing,
What do you mean by that?
like crying, like he was monumentally upset
Okay.
by what had happened.
Okay. And you indicated that at some point you had said that you saw blood and then you went downstairs to call 911?
That's what I said in my police report.
Okay. What do you recall about
Oh yeah, but
where
still,
you went after you went upstairs and what you did?
still that fucking sucks.
I kind of like wandered in a circle in my house. Kind of in shock.
Okay, in shock. What were you physically feeling at that time?
Horror?
Okay. Do you recall when you looked in the room who all was even in that room?
No.
Okay. Do you have any recollection communicating or assisting in communicating with any 911 operator?
No.
Okay. What do you recall about any response by fire, EMS, or law enforcement?
I remember the EMT carrying the baby down the stairs.
Okay.
That's about all I remember.
Yeah, that doesn't leave you.
I was in the living room.
That's something that just doesn't fucking leave you when you see that.
Have any idea
Man.
what happened? Did you ever see the
Regardless.
driver come down and retrieve a knife from your kitchen?
I did not.
Okay. Did you have a knife block in your kitchen?
I did.
Okay. And where would that have been in relation to where you were working?
About 15 feet to my right and behind me about 3 feet. It was next to my stove.
Okay. The position that you were working in, would your back have been
Yes.
to where that knife block would have been? Okay. You said that you recalled them EMS carrying the baby down. What do you recall next in terms of what you did?
Police showed up. It just kind of spiraled out of, you know, police were there. That's about all I remember. It was just kind of, you know, like
All right.
running around.
Did you have to go anywhere after that?
I had to go to the police station to give a statement.
Okay.
Talk to Detective Cruz, I think was her name. Very nice lady.
Do you know who else had to go to the police station to give a statement?
There were a bunch of people there, like 3 other people, I think.
Okay. Were those people that had been at your house?
Yes.
Okay. And who were those people?
I don't remember. I know Jason was there, the Jason guy. I don't remember.
Okay. Was he there?
Oh, that just.
You know, I don't remember seeing him there.
Okay. What about the other women?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I was in a waiting room, so.
You were in a waiting room at the police department? Okay.
Yeah, there was like 1 or 2 other people there, so I don't know who all was everywhere.
All right. Did law enforcement serve any kind of search warrant or do any
Yes.
work at your residence?
Yes.
And what do you know about that?
They served me a search warrant and searched my house. That's
Okay.
all I know.
Okay.
Okay. And did
Pretty
you
reasonable.
cooperate
Pretty
with that?
reasonable.
Do you still stay in touch with Z?
Like I said, we talk every once in a while, but
Okay. Not really.
yeah.
When you say we talk every once in a while, like how, does he call you or do you call him?
He calls me.
Okay. And is the nature just like seeing what you've been up to?
Yes.
Okay. How do you classify you and his relationship?
Acquaintances, friends,
Okay.
not close friends, but friends. Yeah.
Okay. And has he ever shared with you, you said that you were sort of proliferally aware that he had multiple wives. Has he ever discussed with you sort of the,
No.
none of that? Okay. Have you ever inquired?
No.
Okay. One moment, Your Honor.
That's an interesting question.
I have nothing further this time.
Self-examination.
Did you ever inquire about it? Weren't you ever curious how he came about this? That's what that feels like. You ever just wondered
Good morning,
how
sir.
he's able to do this?
You said you've known Z since what year, approximately?
I believe it was 2015.
Okay. You're also aware that there was another female involved with Z prior to Miss Driver, correct?
The prior,
Jesus,
Solomon,
that
that lived
was,
at your house prior to, in 2015.
was there? I don't remember.
Well, let's talk about that. You recall talking to the police, correct?
well,
All right, and you told the police that in your interview that in 2015 that Z came.
Well, let's
to
talk
a
about
woman
that.
named Gabriella. Do you remember Gabriella?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then at some point she was pregnant, correct?
Yes.
And that you actually had them leave because you were a single man living there on your own and didn't want a baby at the house.
That's not true.
Well, if you told law enforcement that, you're disputing that now?
I just didn't want people in my house. Baby would be included in
All
that.
right, well, I can show you that.
I believe you.
Okay. And so
Jesus,
actually,
calm down,
2015,
lady.
It was not Miss Driver then, it was Miss Kuykendall, correct?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. And then subsequently, you said you've met Miss Driver prior to December the 8th, 2020, correct?
Yes.
All right, and you told Miss Gropper that you didn't recall anything odd about any of your previous interactions with her and Z, correct?
Correct.
All right, and on December 8th of 2020, you had very limited interactions with anybody other than Z, correct?
Correct.
You were sitting in your kitchen at your computer desk on what I believe is, there's multiple screens on your computer
Two
desk.
screens, yes.
Okay. Did you have headphones on?
Yes.
Okay. And did you have any idea of where the women were in the house?
No.
Oh, okay. And your interactions with Z were mainly for him to get his property out of your house, correct?
Correct.
All right. And I know you said today that you didn't have any idea of anything else that was weird or going on that day, correct?
Correct.
But you didn't have any specific interactions with Ms. Driver, correct?
Correct.
Or the baby?
Correct.
Or Jessica? One of the other two women?
Yeah, no.
None of them. Did you have
Other
interactions?
than maybe a hi, hello.
Okay, but nothing that stands out in your mind here
Nothing
today?
at
Okay. And you only know him as Z, correct?
Correct.
Do you know Miss Driver by a different name?
I mean, I know she has a different name, but I don't remember what it
Okay.
was.
If I told you it was Kwani, would that ring a bell?
Sure, something like that.
Okay. So nothing stands out in your particular mind at this particular point in time about anything unusual? You just were getting on your Zoom call, correct?
Correct.
All right. And, Z had kept items at your house for several years, correct?
Correct.
And, it was a fairly good-sized house.
Yes.
And you had room in your basement to store some of his things. I think you described it being a guitar, among other things.
A what?
A guitar?
Guitar, clothing,
Okay.
books.
Were you kind of happy that he was coming to get his stuff out of your house?
Yes.
Okay. And I know you described him today as, kind, gentle, whatever. Do you remember using other words at the time of your interview? Do you remember telling the detective crews that you considered him to be a pain in the ass?
No, but he was at times.
Okay. And did you also describe him as, or make the statement that he was kind of crazy?
I may have.
Okay. And you follow that up by calling him a hippie and saying that he's weird, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. But nothing stands out personally about Miss Driver in your mind at all that day? Okay. And you talked about how you call him Z and that you're just more acquaintances, correct? Have you had...
We're friends.
Okay.
We're not besties or anything, but I mean, I consider him a friend.
Okay, and nature of your relationship is what? Just talking on the phone or the internet,
Yes.
that kind of thing?
Phone.
Okay. Don't go out and hang out with him socially?
I haven't seen him since 2020.
Okay, and there's been, well, even before that, in 2020, he would just kind of reappear or randomly call you, correct? You have to answer out loud for the
Oh,
court.
sorry,
I'm
yes.
sorry.
Sorry.
That's okay. And there would be long periods of time where you wouldn't hear from him at all, correct?
Correct.
And then he'd kind of pop back up and say he was coming to stop by?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's kind of what happened in this particular instance, correct?
Yes.
You didn't know the day or two before anything that he was coming, he called you the day of?
He may have called me the day or two before and said, we're coming through, I'll pick up my stuff. I don't know when exactly it was, but it was in close proximity to.
But the day that he showed up, you were in contact with him and he was kind of giving you updates about when he thought he was going to arrive?
He may have texted me, I don't really remember.
Okay. Since 2020, what kind of contact have you had?
Phone calls, like we've spoken a few times, maybe a dozen times since then.
I'm sorry, a dozen?
A dozen,
Okay.
half dozen, in between there.
Since you found out when this case was scheduled for trial, correct? Have you had any phone calls with him?
I have
About how many?
2.
And what were the nature of those phone calls?
He called me, I asked if he was coming to the trial because I had to go, and that was it.
We didn't talk about what testimony was or any type of defense information?
No, not really.
Okay. If there was a recorded phone call with Z indicating that he's talked to you about the case, you would dispute that?
I did actually talk to him about something that the prosecution told me.
Okay, and what was that?
The part of the defense.
Okay, so you told that to Z directly?
Yes.
And that was based on a conversation you had with?
Yes.
Okay, and you were aware that Z is a witness either for the state or
I
the
was not
defense?
aware of that.
Okay, he didn't tell you that?
He did not tell me that.
Okay, but you did give him that information, correct?
Ooh, uh-oh.
In the state?
Both, the defense and the state.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any reason?
Interesting. Okay. That's not good.
You indicated you talked to
The thing is like what that does is that invalidates, or that makes it messier for this, because it happened at his house. That is very careless, but it makes sense that it happened, because you would if anybody's gonna like fucking spoil some shit like that, it's gonna be this guy, because he was so close to Z. Is what he's named in this, but it's like kind of slightly expected, unfortunately.
you about something that you.
But it's not good. It's not good. It's just I'm not surprised either, though.
Did you want to come to this trial?
Not really?
Okay. And did I explain to you why your presence at this
Yes,
trial was necessary
which is
and
why I'm
important? Okay. And are those the things that you discussed with Z?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, which again, not good.
Did I tell you that one of the things we need to establish is how everybody reacted to the situation?
Yes.
Okay. And you had information about that his reaction, right? Okay.
He was mortified.
What's the gun room? I can't remember.
A minute ago,
Okay.
you said that you had told law enforcement that you kind of described him as like a crazy hippie. What do you mean by that?
Just, ultra hippie, love the earth kind of guy.
Okay.
Religious.
Okay. You indicated that you have had discussions with him or connected with him over like higher consciousness and things
Yes.
like that. Do you share all of his belief systems?
No.
You up to hers?
And does he respect that in terms of your
Yes.
relationship?
Yes, very much so.
Nothing further. Thank you.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
All right. Then the witness may be excused.
Yes.
All right, you are free to go, sir. Thank you. And we are going to take a lunch recess at this time. We are going to be in recess until 1:15. So please be back in the jury room at 1:15. Leave us your notepads.
See?
Okay, next one.
Can you tell me your name?
My name is Gary Pruitt.
Okay. That's okay. And Mr. Pruitt, how are you employed?
I'm employed with Allied Universal Security Services, and I'm assigned to Lockheed Martin in physical security.
Okay. And prior to that role, how were you employed?
I was employed with the City of Somerville Police Department. Prior to that, I was employed with the City of Canton Police Department, and my first department that I worked for was, again, the City of Somerville.
Okay. How long have you been in law enforcement?
I was in law enforcement on and off from November of 2017 until June of 2023.
Okay. And for what period of time were you employed with the City of Canton?
I was employed with the City of Canton from February of 2019 until March of 2021.
Okay. And so I want to draw your attention to December 8th of 2020. What was your role with the department at that time?
On December 8th, 2020, I was assigned to the Uniform Patrol Division, and I was doing things such as enforcing municipal and state laws and ensuring the safety of the public in the City of Canton.
Okay. And on patrol, in that role you were in at that time,
Well, this is a
how would you
serious
receive
one.
Calls to respond.
I would receive calls from the Cherokee County Communications Dispatch Center over my police car radio.
Okay. And I want to talk to you specifically about a call that came through to respond to 215 Mountain Vista Boulevard. Do you recall that?
I do.
All right. Where were you at when you received that call?
I was in my patrol vehicle parked in the back of a cemetery that was located off Scott Mill Road in Canton near Marietta Road.
Okay. And do you recall what time you got that call?
Approximately 2:27 p.m.
2:27 p.m.? Okay. And what was the information that you had when you were responding?
Well, the call came out, it was that a mother had killed her baby with a knife.
Okay. And when that's being transmitted, is it being transmitted to you over radio or?
It was over the radio in my patrol vehicle.
All right. And at that time when you got the call, did you have any appreciation for who was going to arrive at that residence first, or were there other responders involved?
I was the initial dispatched officer. Sergeant Jose Soto also responded to the scene. It could have been whatever officer decided to respond as well, but due to the priority of the call, as many officers that were available would have decided to respond. Sergeant Soto and I arrived on the scene at pretty much the exact same time.
Okay. And how far was that 215 Mountain Vista Boulevard from where you were at?
From the cemetery, I would estimate it was anywhere from about 1.5 miles to 2.5 miles.
Okay. And what do you recall about the timing of your arrival compared to other officers?
I would say very
Here's
much
the room I
same.
wanted.
Sergeant Soto and I were in different parts of the city, and we were both running with our emergency lights and sirens going, and we arrived there pretty much simultaneously, but Sergeant Soto ended up getting inside the residence before I did, but it was only a difference of maybe 35 seconds.
Okay. And were both yourself and Sergeant Soto equipped with body-worn cameras?
Yes,
Okay. Was that part of your agency's policy?
it was.
Okay. Is that something that you have to turn them on, or do they automatically come on?
You have to physically press the button to record with the body cameras as well as stopping the recording.
Okay. And so tell me about your response when you got there. What did you do and how did you proceed?
Well, when I arrived on scene, I had not initially realized that Sergeant Soto had already entered the residence. I parked my vehicle in front of the house, and I went up the driveway and spoke with a Caucasian elderly male that was later identified to me as, I believe, Gerald Martin, and he was the homeowner.
Okay.
And at the time, I didn't realize that my sergeant had already entered the residence, so I told him to stay outside where my sergeant could see him, and I asked him, where the woman was at, referring to Miss Driver, and he informed me that she was upstairs, and that the people at the house were friends of his, and that she and the baby were upstairs, and shortly after that point, I entered the residence.
Okay. And did you proceed directly